This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Brandon Andrus Green.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast Live. Are you looking for a better way to understand what's happening beneath the surface of stress, pain, and personal struggle? Your good neighbor might be closer than you think. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing your good neighbor, Mike Chapman with Polar Life Consulting. Mike, how's it going?
Doing well, Brandon. Great to see you. Great to be here.
Thank you. We're so excited to learn all about you, your work through Polar Life Consulting, your use of brain spotting, and the way you help people really move toward healing, clarity, and hope. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about Polar Life Consulting and the type of work you do?
Absolutely. I'm a certified life coach, helping men dealing with childhood trauma, especially sexual exploitation, whether that's childhood sexual abuse or sex trafficking. That's kind of my focus because that's part of my own story. And when you can find healing from those areas of trauma, it just opens up your life and just lets you experience life to its fullest instead of being bogged down with all of the trauma that you've been carrying for your whole life since the trauma began.
I think you sort of kind of hit on this, but I was wondering, can you tell our audience how you really got into this type of work in the first place?
Yes, absolutely. I am a survivor of child sexual abuse and sex trafficking. It was a family member who did all of that. Really, I got most of my healing starting in 2019. I heard someone else's story about their coming back from abuse, and that inspired me and my journey to focus on my own healing. And so I looked into different paths, different organizations, some online, some in person, and started going to therapy. And the trafficking got uncovered. Most of those were repressed memories that then became uncovered. The memory of the abuse got uncovered at age 30, even though it happened when I was a young boy. And then the trafficking only came out in 2019 in my mid-50s. And so just trying to understand the trauma and then go through it and heal from it. And we call it a healing journey because you're never quite finished, and we're always continually helping to heal from those traumas. But once you reach a certain step, it's really important also to bring along the next generation, as it were, to help them find healing as well. And thankfully, I started sharing my own story on podcasts such as this, and I would hear from other people who were hearing my story. And then I started my own podcast where I share my story, and I have a safe place for men to tell their stories of trauma. And you've been on my podcast as well. Mm-hmm. And I've heard from men who have heard my story, got inspired for their own healing, and they told their story, and other people have heard their story and they get inspired for healing. The whole theme of my podcast is the power of story. And that is exactly it. That's the power of story. If you share your story, you inspire others and you become the roadmap for their healing journey. And it's so honoring and such a privilege to be able to pass that wisdom down to the next generation.
So true. What would you say are some of the myths or misconceptions people tend to have about healing trauma or even counseling work in the first place?
Right. Well, I know a big myth for those who experience sexual trauma specifically is that the majority will go on and perpetrate sexually against others, and that is not true at all. In fact, a very, very, very small percentage of those who experienced any kind of sexual abuse, sexual trauma as a child, especially males, will go on to abuse. Very, very small percentage. Overall, no, we never even think of that. And so they think we might not be safe around children, that kind of thing. And that's not true at all. And I think that's a big misconception. It's hard for men specifically because we don't always have the language. I know many men, well, this icky, weird thing happened to me when I was a kid, but I don't really know. And because I'm a boy, males can physiologically respond to touch, especially sexually. And so they get confused. Well, I mean, it was kind of pleasurable, but it was also weird and felt icky. And they don't realize, okay, you were underage, they were an adult, they were abusing you, or whatever the story is, that it was not that child's fault. And so it's often that person's misconception that I must have done something wrong, or the shame, meaning I am bad, I was not worth good, therefore the bad things happened to me because I was a bad person. And that's not true either. Or they feel guilt that I must have done something wrong to have caused this to happen, because children, they're so egocentric. Like, you do hide and seek and they hide under a blanket. They think, oh, you can't see me, that means I'm invisible. That's how they view their world. And when something bad goes wrong, like mom and dad get divorced, oh, I must have done something bad to cause that. That's how they think. And so when something weird sexually happens to them, like abuse and so forth, they think, okay, I must have done something bad to have caused this. And no, you were there. You were just a target. For whatever reason, they targeted you. And if it wasn't you, it would have been somebody else. And so it wasn't your fault. You did nothing wrong to earn it, to deserve it. You were just there. And so many men, especially because men don't talk about this, they think they are alone. They think it's just they're the only person in this world that this has happened to. And the stats are saying like 1 in 6 men are sexually abused or assaulted by the age of 18 in the US. Wow. And they think that's a low number. That is probably higher. For girls, this is according to the CDC in Atlanta, it's 1 in 4. And that's also probably a little underreported, so it's probably more than that. Yeah, boys don't tell. They ask perps if they didn't really have a sexual preference but went after boys. Why did they go after boys? Because boys don't tell. Boys don't tell. And part of my ministry service consulting is sharing my story, getting the word out to know that, yes, this does happen to boys. Boys can be victims of abuse and exploitation. And there's hope and healing out there too. Absolutely. And my podcast is a safe place for men to come and tell their stories when they're at that point and feel safe enough to do so. Absolutely. And story after story about men, what happened, and more importantly, not only what happened to them, but how they have found healing. That's why the title, Healing for Male Survivors, because I want to know how they found healing. And everyone's path is a little different. They've tried different things. Sometimes this thing works for a lot of them, but some men doesn't work at all, and vice versa. So there's all these different paths towards healing, and I want to make sure the information is there so they say, oh, well, that didn't happen. That didn't work for that guy, but this did, and this other thing did. So they have all these different resources listening to the podcast on the different methods that can help in finding healing, because brain science is huge. It's just exploded in the last decade or so. So we have things like EMDR and brain spotting, which I'm a provider for, that allows the brain to heal from trauma. And there's so much more that we know now that we didn't 10, 20 years ago.
So for someone who hears the word brain spotting, does not know what that actually means, yes, how would you explain it in normal language?
Well, right here, this is the author of Brain Spotting, Dr. David Grand. It came out of EMDR in the sessions that he did with clients. That's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I believe that's EMDR. It's the kind of the de facto therapy for trauma, only provided by licensed therapists. And he noticed eye movement in different ways working with clients. And he decided to use the concept like, if, and I'm doing it right now, I'm trying to think of this and I'm looking to the side. If you're on video, you can see that. And your brain, if they say, oh, tell me about when you were a little boy, and you go, oh, and your eyes look to the corner of the room. It's how your brain and your visual cortex, your eyes, are so interconnected. When you try to access a memory, your eyes go into a certain spot and you go, oh, wait, we can study this. And then he studied it and realized, okay, if you have stored trauma, there's a spot in your visual field that will correspond to that trauma. And we just have to find that spot. We find that spot and let your eyes focus on that spot. Then all of a sudden, all this truth, all these memories, all these feelings just get released. And once you release them, then it's like a huge leap towards healing because you're getting that stuff out. And the nice thing about brain spotting, you do not need to be a licensed therapist to use this. Sports medicine people use it. So you hear of athletes hitting the wall that they reach a certain point and they can't get past that level of success in whatever field that they're performing in, oftentimes because of some past trauma. And brain spotting can help find that. And it's like, oh, dad yelled at the coach during Little League, and I was so embarrassed, and whatever it was, that we can find that spot and release that trauma and realize, okay, that's what's doing it. That's why they're not able to succeed. And then you can access that trauma and get it out, help them find healing, and then boom, they can go past that wall. And his book, they have an audiobook version that's also wonderful where he explains all of this in detail. And then they have trainings available as well online that you can join and learn how to be a brain spotting provider. And I did that. There's different levels and they keep adding more as they do it. I think it's like level 6 or 7 trainings that they do, just more and more and more and more advanced for people who do this a lot. And I'm hoping to take more additional training in it, but it's just amazing. And yeah, you might think it's weird, mumbo jumbo kind of stuff, and it kind of is, but it's people have been looking at brain kind of stuff for decades. Even like the Bible says, renewing of your mind. It's that same kind of concept that you can retrain your brain and help it to process things in a different way so it's no longer traumatic. And that's exactly what this offers. And it's a very powerful tool, but it is just a tool. And I know as a coach, I will use this as one of the tools in my toolbox. And I know even EMDR, some therapists, though I'm an EMDR therapist, and that's all I do. Well, no, that should be a tool in your toolbox, but you should be using a whole bunch of other tools as well. And if all you have in your toolbox is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So you need to have a whole bunch of tools so you can access it. My own therapist, he's got a huge toolbox, and he works with me and does all kinds of different things, and he's continually learning and upgrading and then trying new things. And then he geeks out about it, and he tells me backstories of everything he's learned on how to deal with trauma. And it's so interesting, and he just gets so fascinated about that. And he's continually learning, as am I, so we can be there for the people that we serve.
And you also host your own podcast, Healing
Yes.
for Male Survivors.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, yes, I mentioned that earlier, but yes, I started that. I've got over 100 episodes now. I started audio only, and now I'm doing video about the past year or so. The video version is on Spotify and YouTube. Audio version is on all the platforms. And Healing for Male Survivors with Mike Chapman. And sometimes it's just me talking about issues related to healing. I'll have different episodes on there. I also have guests come on who are either male survivors or serve male survivors, and talking about issues. If it's a survivor, then their story of exploitation, and then also their healing journey, how they found healing, and then also what they're doing now. And I also preface all my interviews. I have 4 intro questions that have nothing to do with trauma. It's just a list of symptoms, a list of traumas. We're people, we're humans. We can experience joy. Even if we have all these traumas, we still experience joy. And I love those questions because they'll talk about your favorite this, your favorite that. And people just spill all these things. And it's so fascinating. And I can find so much in common with so many of these. And it just shows it a little bit more humanity for the person I'm interviewing, that it's not just a list of traumas and a list of symptoms, that we do have lives and we do experience joy. And it's okay. You don't have to, oh, yes, I had this horrible thing happen and I'm going to stay like an Eeyore figure the rest of your life. No, you can experience joy and it's okay. And so I emphasize that and I start that out. And then we talk about their story, we talk about their healing journey, and then whatever they're doing today. I've had authors and publishers and people who do different ministries, businesses like yourself, and it's amazing to see what they are doing in their lives to help serve the world. You know, it's just amazing, the different men that I've had on. And yeah, it's so great. I've had lots of downloads and I'm really thrilled with how it is going. And it's such a joy to interview these men.
Well, maybe you feel different, but for me, it's not a very fun subject. It can be, all the trauma can just get so intense. So I'm sure it's hard to kind of decompress after doing that. What is Mike Chapman do for fun?
Well, great question. Yes. Vicarious trauma is a thing. When you help dealing with other people's traumas, it kind of sticks to you a little bit. So you have to find ways to get it out so you're not bringing it home and kicking your dog. I hear dogs in the background, kicking your dog. I have a dog. Or yelling at your wife or your kids or whatever. You don't want to bring that home, so you need to find healthy ways to release that. Absolutely. But for fun, I also am if you've heard my story and it's on the website and on the podcast, I'm also a professional Santa Claus portrayal artist. So I do that for fun with my wife, especially in season around late fall or November, December. We do different activities. Santa Mike ENC for Eastern North Carolina, where we live, santamikeenc.com. All the information. We do video visits. Information is there and we can do that anywhere. But mostly we serve Eastern North Carolina, and we do businesses, home visits, corporate, government, tree lightings, anything, anywhere that they need a Santa, we go. And it's such a joy. And then my special thing that I'm coming up on, I go to a local Comic-Con type convention that I thoroughly enjoy. And I do a mashup where it's a Santa and a Jedi Knight. So I have Obi-Claus Kenobi at your service. And I dress up in this Santa Jedi mashup, and it's glorious. And I have so much fun for several days. This is in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's called GalaxyCon. They do several regional GalaxyCon conferences all over the East Coast, this side of the Mississippi, and there's other regional ones around the country as well, similar. But it's just so fun. And the people are so welcoming. And it actually was healing for my own trauma and my own self-worth to be embraced with this character that I put on. And just this whole love and celebration and acceptance. And it's just been truly healing for me, which I didn't think it would be. And I've discovered, wow. And so it's kind of addicting. And so I go back every year, and I'm going back in a couple weeks, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
Well, just for the record, you are officially my favorite Santa, and definitely my kids' favorite Santa as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So how can our listeners learn more and connect with you? I know you have your website, you're on social media, and you're doing the podcast. What's your preferred method?
Yes, the best way to reach me is polarlifeconsulting.com. And yeah, it's here on the live feed, POLAR. And that's also, there's a link to my podcast. Again, Healing for Male Survivors with Mike Chapman on all the platforms. Links to each specific platform is there. If you have your special preferred podcast provider, there's links to it there. And YouTube as well. Also Polar Life Consulting on Facebook. That's really the only social I have for it. I'll probably expand a little bit more in the future. Same thing, Santa Mike ENC for Eastern North Carolina. That's also on Facebook and santamikeenc.com. And that's the best way to find me. You can send me a contact message on the website, and I will respond. Also, polarlifeconsulting@gmail.com. If you want to shoot an email towards me, I would love to hear from you. And if you want to be on the podcast as well and share your story, like Brandon has, hit me up, and I would love to have you on.
Well, Santa, Mike, I really appreciate you being on the show. We wish you and Polar Life Consulting the best moving forward.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure. And thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast. This has been awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnptulsa.com. That's gnptulsa.com. Or call 918-301-6356.